All right, everyone, we're back. Mike and Joe from Build Assets Online. Today, we're going to be coming at you with kind of an embarrassing story from when we first started doing high ticket dropshipping. We were in the grind mode, in the hustle mode. We were gathering suppliers for our first store, and we got totally embarrassed by one of the suppliers that we had in our list that we called, and we never got around to selling their stuff because while it was looking good at first, we eventually didn't get in with them for reasons we'll get into. So this was a few years ago, so some of the details might be a little fuzzy, but let's set the stage a little bit. Me and Mike. Mike had just quit his job. He was not working anymore. Quit his job after working like 9 months at a college or something. I had just bought a house. I was going to be moving to another state, and the house purchase was complete, and I was getting ready to move. And we got our Kindle account suspended, both of our Kindle accounts. And so that was a huge chunk of our income at the time. And so long story short, we were in a real rush to build a dropshipping store to get another form of income established. And so I had actually gone to live with Mike because I was going to be moving into the house with my wife in the next like 30 days or something. So I was like, yeah, we got to get this done. Let's just do this. So we had a list of suppliers. We made the store. We were just calling. And we had this conference call with this one supplier that embarrassed us. And what happened was, and Mike can elaborate on this, is that when we were on the call, they do a lot of B2B stuff. And so their lingo was far different than we understood at the time. So they were kind of throwing around a lot of words that we didn't understand, like B2B sales terms, and even throwing around like technical specifications about their products that we really had no idea what they were talking about. And I think one of the big things that we did wrong, or that I did wrong on the call, was I think we may have tried to like make it seem like we knew what we were talking about, rather than just saying, because this is what I would do now. If this happened now, I'd be like, I got to be honest, I'm not fully versed in the terminology you're using. It's just not something I've heard before across all the other industries that we're in. But at the time, I think I was trying to like fake it till I make it too much. And at the end of the call, the guy was just like, yeah, all right, well, bye. And then we never sold the stuff. Any other details you can remember?
Honestly, when you brought this up as a video idea, I didn't even know what you were talking about. But yeah, I eventually remembered who the supplier was and kind of the specifics of what happened. And as I look at their stuff now, they're not outside the realm of like suppliers that we typically get now. And really, the difference back then was that we had no experience and we had no frame to come at that would sort of prove our value, right?
Yeah.
So in our course now, we talk about like the tips you need to when you go into a call with a supplier, you need to be in a certain frame of mind, and really unrelenting confidence is probably the main one. So even if you don't know the verbiage of whoever you're speaking, of that particular industry per se, you should still be coming at it from the frame that what you do has generated, sales and revenue for other businesses. You're very, very confident that it'll work for this one, and the rest doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So really, I didn't even remember that this happened. That's how insignificant it was to, our journey in terms of like, it didn't ruin us. But honestly, after like 6 months, a year, we probably could have called them again and gotten in with them.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that where you're at in a certain point in the beginning of maybe your entire dropshipping journey, or maybe one for that particular store, you can get embarrassed, but it's never the end all be all. And when I look at them now, this isn't even like, I wouldn't be super hot on this supplier. There's some suppliers I see, I'm like, all right, we need to get in with them ASAP. I know this is going to be a huge revenue generator for us. I don't even know if they're that. So
The reason why I thought of this topic in the first place is because I've got a couple of students emailing and asking us questions, and it seems like, so you're talking about the confidence, and you have to come at the supplier's unrelenting confidence, and I agree with you. That's really important. You have to be like convince them that you're going to sell their stuff and you're going to bring them more business. But we have students emailing and asking questions about like supplier specific things, like, oh, this supplier has this special form, and this supplier maybe uses this sort of, they're like stuff that we don't necessarily know, because each supplier is a little bit different. They have their own internal systems. Maybe each industry is a little bit different. If you go and work in any industry in the corporate world, there's always going to be like acronyms they're throwing at you and things that you don't understand. And that is normal. So the reason why I brought this up is because I wanted to lay out the difference between dealing with a scenario where you're not familiar with the lingo that they're talking about. And that's totally okay. That's totally okay if you don't understand it. And you shouldn't be embarrassed to ask them questions, but you have to ask them questions like in a confident way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you can ask questions in a way that you're making it fully transparent that you're trying to learn about what they're talking about, and you're not trying to be something you're not. You should be fully aware of what you are, and you're just someone that has a very, very deep knowledge of online marketing and online physical product sales.
Yeah.
So the nitty-gritty of their products, you should really care less.
Yeah.
Because you can learn them after talking with a couple customers about it. And we do this all the time. If I find a product that I don't understand what it is, then I want to get into it, because that means other people are going to be deterred from going into it. It's not something that probably can be sold on like a big box type level, or if it is, people will be less likely to buy because it will require more sort of support. People will have questions about what they're about to buy. So this is like really a worst case scenario of what happens when you talk with a supplier. The worst is that they think you're dumb and they hang up on you. And even then, you think in 2 months they're going to remember who you are? They're not. In 6 months, you can call them again, say, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We talked, blah, 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 blah. We're doing this amount of sales now. I think we should revisit getting you guys on board. And maybe at that point you will be more familiar with the actual terms of the industry. But that type of thing really doesn't matter. And when you were talking just before, Joe, it made me think about one of our business partners and how they really don't care about what they know when it comes to suppliers.
No.
They were on the phone with one particular brand, and basically he asked them how much in sales they do, how much in sales they do a month. He asked the supplier that.
Yeah.
And the supplier said like $1 million. And he's like, all right, well, we're going to get you to 10 million. So it's like, they just want to hear that you're going to boost their business.
Yeah.
So however you need to get that point across, get that point across.
Yeah, and let's set the stage for this a little bit, because I think you bringing it up is actually really important. So the people that I have asking me these questions, and there is more than one. So if you're thinking I'm singling you out there, there's definitely this is very common questions that we get about like specific.
Yeah, all of our students ask us this type of thing.
But the person you just described, who we're partnered on a store with, partnered on 2 stores with, like I can guarantee you that he has much less experience in his like professional career talking to like any sort of corporate supplier. Like he doesn't have that experience. Like he's doing this like straight out of college. Like his store was, or our partner store with him was doing well enough to where he never even got a job out of college. So he just calls them like, like with that level of confidence. Like he doesn't,
It's like an ignorance is bliss type thing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. He's not concerned about, oh my God, what are they going to think if I don't understand the TPS 9 form? Like, how do I not know what that is? Like, he doesn't care about that. And it brings me back to kind of my corporate days as well, to where we would bring in like outside consultants oftentimes to fix like or work on like certain projects, certain pieces of machinery, and oftentimes the consultants they weren't really that familiar with like the corporate culture or like the food like the specific things that we were working on in the specific culture of the industry. So they would maybe dress different, talk way less formal, just do things in a different way. But it didn't matter because even the high up people at the company I worked for, they were like, hey, this is the guy that's going to fix the blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the guy that we need to execute this project on. And so, like Mike was saying, you're coming at it where you're an expert at internet marketing and online sales. That's all they need to know. That's all they need to know. And
I think the go-to is for people to want to camouflage. They want to be able to sort of blend in with the environment and make it seem like they're a part of the group. And for that, in a particular instance of talking with suppliers and dealing with a particular industry, maybe you need to know the terminology. You need to talk like them. You need to even dress like them if it's in person. But you can command just as much value and respect within that industry by not camouflaging and just owning who you are and what the value proposition that you're bringing is. That's the real point here.
That's the knowledge bomb going off. Mike just dropped it. And with that, let's wrap up this episode. It's been fun. BuildAssetsOnline.com/playbook for our free course. If you want to build an e-commerce store just like the ones we talk about, BuildAssetsOnline.com/asset. It's been a fun episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take it easy.